Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief growth officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, we've got a good topic for you here today, and it's something that comes up over and over and over again every time that I talk to a roofing company owner, right? I dig in a lot into their business before we even, do anything in their marketing, because it makes sense for me to have a really good understanding for where they're at now and where they want to go, right? So when I'm digging in, and what I have found is that out of all of these people that I have interviewed, and I've personally interviewed over thousands and thousands in the past 5 years, most roofing companies just don't have the right systems in place in order to grow. Well, they rely on hustle, referrals, word of mouth, right? And they're just barely getting by, most of them. But here's the real trick to anything in business, is that if you really want to scale beyond your current level, where you're at right now, without chaos, misleads, poor execution, you really need sales for what I call the core four, right? And the core four are simply marketing, sales, operations, and HR. So in this episode, I'm going to break down the core four growth systems, right, that every single roofing company needs, and really, how do you start building them? Okay, so let's get going on this first segment, and this is very, near and dear to my heart. Obviously, I've been in marketing for the past 25 years, I think 25 years, 24, 25 years, something like that. I don't know. I've lost count. Okay, but this is exactly the system that I wrote my book on, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Okay, and it's called the 4R Roofing Marketing System. So the 4 R's are very simple. They stand for, and these are pillars, okay? And the first R is your reputation, because what we found is that, and it's just like your foundation, okay, is that you cannot do anything in marketing that's actually going to work if your foundation isn't right, and your foundation is your reputation, okay? And I've seen this time and time and time and time again, right? So you want to make sure that you're building on a solid foundation, right? We're not building on sand, right? So that solid foundation is a solid reputation, okay? And a lot of things go into that reputation, and it shows up in a lot of places. So you want to make sure that you've got that right, okay? Number two, and this is what most people even come to me about, and that's what they think marketing is reach, okay? Reach is simply getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. In this pillar, currently, right now, we focus a lot on Google, which is, Google Ads, search engine optimization, local service ads, Google Maps. Okay, those are the big four inside of Google itself. Once you get those right, we also work on some social ads for clients, and these are not lead ads, but these are more retargeting ads. Okay. And those retargeting ads show up everywhere on the internet. Okay. So when someone comes to your website, you want to make sure that you're following them around. But the point here is that this pillar, the reach pillar, is just simply getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday, right? Get them to know, like, and trust you here. And the next pillar here is resell. Okay. And this is just simply staying top of mind and selling back to the people that you've sold to before. Because honestly, you're 8 times more likely. The research says you're 8 times more likely to sell to somebody that has purchased from you in the past and had a positive experience. So most roofers that I talk with don't have any kind of a system for this right here at all, in the least bit. They've never done cross-sell campaigns to sell gutters, siding, windows, solar, anything else that they offer. Okay. And they just move on to the next job. And that's a mistake, because your lifetime value of a customer could be much greater if you just simply went back to them time and time and time and time again. Okay. So that's the next pillar, is resell. The next pillar after that, the 4th R, is referrals. This is how we all build our businesses at the beginning, but yet when you're scaling a roofing company, it's a lot harder to scale that one piece, because it just honestly has sat in the owner's mind, right? The referral program is just sitting in the owner's mind. That most of the times when I ask them, what is your referral program? They have no definite answer. They don't say it's a $250 gift card to Texas Roadhouse that is co-branded with my logo on it so that they know that it came from me. And why 250? And that's because you can feed a family of four for $250 at Texas Roadhouse, which it's a franchise. There are restaurants all over the place. Doesn't necessarily need to be that in your service area. You might not even have Texas Roadhouses there. Find something in your area. Maybe try to see if they can co-brand their gift card with your logo on it. But a referral system needs to be in place. Okay. All of your customers, all of your employees, everyone that knows about your company should know what your referral program is. Okay. So that system is ensuring that happens. And then the last step of that is just simply going out to your email database periodically and letting them know about your referral program. Okay. So if you get everything right in those 4 R's inside of your marketing system, okay, reputation, reach, resell, and referral, if you get all of those correct and you get your marketing right, simply because something is working in every single one of those. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our next system. The next system is simple. Everybody knows about sales. You got to have sales, right? You got to have marketing to get the leads in. You've got to have the leads for the sales. You've got to convert the sales into a job for operations. Okay. And then HR, you've got to have people to actually do the work. But in sales, right? Sales really is a system. And it should be systemized. But yet most people that I talk with, it is not a system. It is hit or miss. And it is honestly just doesn't work for the most part. Some of our companies that we've worked with in the past have 1-2% sales conversion rates off of the leads that we send them. And that's a horrible sales conversion rate. You should be 25%. That should be the bar, is what you're looking to get from every cold lead. And this should be tracked, by the way. Every cold lead that you get, you should be converting 1 out of every 4 of those into a sale. Okay. If you've got that, you've got a solid sales system. And I know that because we have several clients that really are on point with their sales. And we have asked them what they have done different than the other folks. Okay. And the first part of this is having a solid inbound call system, making sure that every call is answered within 3 rings, right? By someone who is trained using a script that is actually setting an appointment right then and there. Because once you do that, you're solving that homeowner's problem, right? They're gonna stop calling other roofing companies for the most part. Right? They might get 2 or 3 other bids out there, but there are so many roofing companies that do not answer their phones these days at all, that if you do, and you do this will separate you from the pack. Okay. If it's after hours, make sure that you have a service that books directly to your calendar. Okay. Do not just take that contact information, give it to a salesperson and hope, right? Hope is in a system, and hope that they actually will call that homeowner back. Okay. Number 2 is what we see is this appointment follow-up system, right? Making sure that their automation's set up, all right, for making sure that there are no-shows. There are no-shows. Okay. Or unresponsive leads, right? Use text messages, use calls, use email. The goal is really to book that appointment so that you can ensure and that person shows up. Okay. Last stage here is estimate follow-up systems. Okay. We want to make sure that we're following up on the sales side of things. Okay. The clients that I've talked with have solid follow-up systems. And what I mean by that is that, first of all, they're creating that estimate within 24 hours or less, right? Hopefully you're doing it with something like Roofle or Eagle View or roof are, right? Make sure that you're actually creating that estimate as fast as you can. If you can do that out in your truck on a computer or iPad, I highly recommend doing that and making sure that you go over that estimate in person with the homeowner right then and there. Okay. If you leave, all right, what's the follow up after that? Well, the follow up after that for the people that are winning are following up within 24 hours. Okay, with a phone call, with a text message. Next, after that, if they're unresponsive after that, then you set them into a system, right, that follows up with them. The folks that we work with that are working highly, that are very, very well, right? They actually call and text message every single week until that person tells them to either leave them alone. Okay. And it's not a high pressure. They're just calling to make sure that they got the estimate, all that kind of stuff. But they're doing that until they're told to either leave them alone or they convert. Okay. So make sure that you have someone, and these people have their admin backend staff doing it for them, and making sure that they do that through their CRM so that it is trackable. Okay. Takeaway here is that, you know, I get told so many times, we just need more leads. We just need more leads. But when I look into their systems, it's really, they need more follow-ups is what they need. Okay. And they need the follow-up systems in order to close the leads that you already have. Okay. Because if you get sent 300, 400, 500 leads a month, if you get sent 400 leads a month, you should be closing 100 roofs a month. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Next system. Operations. All right. Deliver with excellence, because if you're not delivering an excellent product, it's going to be harder to get reviews. It's going to be harder to make sure that your marketing actually works because your reputation stinks. Okay. So, and this is just something that we all want to do. We all want to deliver with excellence. Now, I'm going to add something to that, not just deliver with excellence, but deliver with world-class excellence. Okay. How do you do that? Well, the first part is having a solid project management system. Okay. Ensure that you have scheduling in place. All right. That the homeowner understands when you're going to be, where, and what's going to be happening, and that your system and or your people are following up with progress updates. Okay. Pretty simple thing, but it takes you, the business owner, to sit down and actually build this system and make sure that it's world class. Next, let's talk about your tech stack, right? Technology is important. It's super important in this day and age. People expect excellence and they expect you to be on top of the ball. Well, you can't be on top of the ball if you're working out of a notebook, you know? So you've got to have technology in your corner. Well, there's tools out there. There's tons of tools out there. There's tools like Job Nimbus, AccuLinks, Company Cam, Roofar, Roofle. You know, there's all of these different systems that you can use to ideally streamline your communication, right? Job Nimbus, AccuLinks have pretty good systems when it comes to all of that. Last system that you need in operations is quality control. You need someone that is going to do a post-job inspection. You got to make sure that it's actually going according to plan and that it went according to plan. Okay. And you can only do this using something like a checklist. Okay. And make sure that you go back to customers and ask them, how did we do? Right. Through a survey. Once they do a survey, and if it's good, then that's probably when you ask them for that review. Okay. But the key takeaway here is that on this system and with the other two systems, good marketing can bring customers in, but great operations keeps them coming back and, more importantly, telling their friends about you. Okay. Next system, HR. This is something that most people don't even think about until it's way too late, right? Is hiring a high performance team. Building a high performance team is really what we should be thinking about as world-class roofers. Okay. You don't grow a company, you grow people. All right. So The first system that we want to talk about here is hiring and onboarding. Okay. And this whole topic here is just, I'm sure a lot of people are just going to gloss over this, but this is one of the most key pieces to your business, is because if you don't have the right people in the right seats in your organization, it's going to fail. Okay. And it's going to fail hard, and you're going to spend a lot of money getting more people in all the time. Okay. And we talk with lots of roofers on this exact subject. All right. So hiring and onboarding, let's talk about that. Who do you need? When do you need them? And how do you find them? How do you get them productive fast? Right. That's really the key to all of this. Right. So let's start with knowing who you need. Who do you need? Who's your next hire? Let's start there. I have a document in all of my organizations that simply says who are my next 3 hires. And really, I have a list of the next 5 hires. And additionally, it has in that document when I'm going to hire them and what their essential duties are going to be. All right. Here's my suggestion. Get out of operations as fast as you can. Okay. That's the first thing that you should be getting out of in your roofing company. If you are sitting in sales and operations right now, then the problem is that you're having to split your time in between those two. Now, if you don't have a lot of jobs coming in, you don't have a lot of leads coming in to do the sales, right? That's fine to do both of those. But when you get too overloaded that you cannot keep up with doing sales and operations at the same time, I highly recommend that you get rid of operations. Hire someone that can go out to every job. They can oversee the job. They can communicate with the customer, the homeowner, what's going on, why we're doing this, and when it's going to be completed, and just keeping them happy and making sure that the project went according to plan. Okay. So that would be my first suggestion. The second suggestion on that is to get out of sales next, right? And this is, most companies that I talk with already have a sales team, and that's great, but they have to have a sales manager, someone managing them. Okay. So as you grow your sales team, make sure that if you're not the sales manager, then you elevate someone from that team to be the sales manager if you feel they're going to be a good manager, or you hire someone else in order to do that. Okay. But how do you find them? That's the next question. How do I find these? Well, there's tons and tons of places out there, but I will tell you that HR, hiring people, is exactly like marketing. And the best people are not sitting out there on Indeed. They're not on Craigslist. They're not on any of these other places out there. Okay. Those are the people that don't have jobs. We want A players. So how do you attract A players? Well, one, you've got to do your marketing about that, right? So you've got to talk about it. First of all, you've got to let people know that there's a job opening. You've got to make it sound enticing. They got to know, like, and trust you, right? In order to work for you. They really have to know, like, and trust you in order to work for you. And the last step is taking that contact information in and treating it just like a sale. All right. Make sure that they don't sit out there for those resumes that are coming in are not sitting out there for 2 to 3 weeks before you even contact them back. Okay. Treat it just like sales. Contact them back in an orderly fashion, probably, the same day. Schedule that interview, talk with them, have a process in place in order to do the hiring piece. Okay. The other thing that I want to throw in on this, and this is something that one of my coaches tells me all the time: always be building your bench. Anyone who calls you looking for a job, anyone who fills out a form on your website looking for a job, make sure that you're storing that information. Because when it does come time, and this is just like a football coach, this is just like a basketball coach, we're always building our bench. Okay. Because of the simple fact that when we hit a busy season and we need 3, 4, 5 more people, it would be a lot easier, don't you think, in order to go back to those people that have contacted you, okay, than it is to put ads out and do all this marketing in order to attract someone. All right. Next, let's talk about really sexy topic here. Scorecards and KPIs, key performance indicators. Every role in your organization needs a clear scorecard and performance metrics of what they need to be hitting. Okay. Build this scorecard now. If you don't have it, make sure that you're meeting on a regular basis with all of your direct reports to ensure that they are hitting their KPIs. Okay. Make sure that they are leading indicators, not trailing indicators. A great point on this is for salespeople. Okay. A lot of people, put a KPI of they need to sell $1 million a year, which, when you backtrack on that, they need to sell 6 houses, per month. Okay. Well, selling 6 houses is a trailing indicator, right? That's the result. So a leading indicator would be something like, how many appointments did you set? How many estimates did you send out? How many people did you follow up with? Those are all leading indicators that leads into the trailing indicator, which is the sale. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't in the comments or wherever, and we can go into all sorts of really cool, deeper information on scorecards, KPIs, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but just know that everyone in your organization should have a number, and it should be tracked. Okay. All right. Let's talk about another fun one, retention and culture, because guess what? Hiring people is hard, and it costs money to do it every single time. Every single time you're going to pay money to someone or somewhere in order to hire somebody, and it costs a lot of money. So why don't we work on retention of those employees and work on the culture of your company? Culture is super important. It's something that's thrown around a lot in, most business circles that I'm in. A lot of it starts with you, the business owner. You have to know what your culture is, what you put up with, what you don't put up with, right? What are your core values? And then bring that into the company and let them know what those core values are. Work with your team to, fine tune those core values, because sometimes your team's core values might not mesh with your exact core values. And if you want to retain these people, right, then you might want to think about how those core values mesh and how it would help shape your company. Okay. So, a great example of that is our core values, right, here at roofingsites.com, right? We have, and they spell team. I wanted to make it easy, right, for us to remember. Okay. So the first one is team player. All right. Everyone in our organization is a team player. Number 2, or you must be, and this is what we hire and fire on, by the way. Okay. And we have fired people that are not team players. Okay. E for effective, because we have to be effective for us and our clients. And so we set our core value up simply to let everyone know that we have to be effective at our jobs. If we're not, our clients are going to fire us. So, you're not going to get to work here either. Okay. Number 3, adaptability. All right. Is the third one for us. We have to be adaptable. It's marketing, right? We're in marketing in sales systems and all of these growth systems that we set up for clients. Well, guess what? We have to be adaptable too. And then the last one is mastery of knowledge. Okay. And we have to keep up with marketing, kind of like the adaptable part, but we have to set aside some time in order to master the knowledge of our subject, of what we're talking about. Okay. And what we're working with. So that's kind of our culture. It doesn't necessarily have to be yours. When I was in the Air Force, they had 3, let me see if I can remember them off the top of my head. Service before self, excellence in all that we do. And what's the third one? Man, I forget the third one. Dang, that has been 20 plus years since I was in the Air Force. So the key takeaway on this whole system, the HR system, is that in all of these systems, what I want you to take away here is that you have got to build systems in your company, or else it's going to be chaos and you're never going to scale it. Okay. And on this specifically, you got to have the right people in the right seats, or your systems will stall, or worse, they're going to break. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with me online. I'm on LinkedIn or Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, you name it. We are out there. Okay. Or you can check out our website at roofingsites.com or roofergrowthhacks.com. And while you're there, listen to other previous episodes. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing session with us. Also, this last year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send you a free digital copy. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.